So we are going to start business mathematics and going through, and this is your work text. This is a teacher edition, but I have a work text for here, and you can go ahead and start working on each chapter and doing the quizzes and the tests from the chapter. So let's begin. I'm going to start with and go over some of the things that you'll probably have to know. So first of all, this talks about keeping records. Does your family have to keep records? Yes, they do. Does your business have to keep records? Yes, successful businesses have to keep records. A computer or a calculator a lot of times is used, but when going through business math, they want you to actually not use one right away, just to get used to doing your math facts. And that's important. When you have to add and subtract and multiply and divide. And so that's what we're going to be doing. So right here, it says, the keeping of money records is called accounting or bookkeeping. So one arithmetic skill that is essential to accounting is addition. And so you've been adding for many years and kind of now should know what this addition really is doing. Is what the arithmetic process of combining numbers to reach a total is called addition. That's the definition. So you need to know that definition. The numbers combined are called add-ins, and the total is the sum. So you have an add-in, an add-in, an add-in, and then you have a sum. You need to know those words, add-ins and sum, when it comes to addition. Of course, you're going to have to memorize your addition facts, and hopefully you did that while you were in grade school. So here, the exercise that you're going to do is very easy. Just getting used to doing your math facts. You can go ahead and do that if you want on a time. Another thing about addition is basically grouping add-ins together. So here you have 7 plus 5 plus 3 plus 6 plus 8, 4, 2, 8, 5, 9, all in a line here. So in doing this, of course, you have to group them together. So it's good to group, like if you want to look at sets of 10, I put 7 times 3 is 10, so I put 10 here. 7 plus 3 is 10, and 6 plus 4 is 10, I put there. So you can see how you group things together. And here's another 10. Right here, and each one you have to cross out. 5 and 5 is 10. Here's another 10. So as you group these together, and then you'll have what is left. So basically 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, right? And here's another 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And then what's left is basically going to be is 8. Because here's the 8. The one that basically is not there. Let's see, we have 7, 5, 3, 6, 8, 4, 2, 8. This 8 has nothing. So that was the leftover, 8. Now you can do it that way, or you can just go 7 plus 5 is, 7 plus 5 is 12, plus 3, you can add on these. But just to know, it's kind of good to group them together if you can remember which ones you're grouping together. Another example is here, is they grouped 9, 3, and 8, it comes together as 20. Then 7 plus 5 is 12. Then grouped 1, 6, 2, and 3, and that's 12. And then 15, and then you start adding these together, and you'll get 59. So see how you group them together. So you already know this stuff, so, but it's important that we do know how to add, right? So that's the first section in keeping money records. So let's go on to the next section. There's going to be money records, and then on the next page, there's going to be lots of addition and subtraction. So the next is on cash receipts. Oh, before you get to the cash receipts, let me put this here. Is basically money means dollars and cents, right? And so if it's written as a decimal, it's going to be dollars and cents. You're always going to round up to the nearest cent. So if you have a decimal that says 3.81, you're going to always round to the nearest cent when you're doing dollars and cents. So basically, dollars and cents written as the decimal, 5 cents equals 0.05. You guys know this already. We're just to review. Always keep decimal points aligned when you are adding them. So here, you're going to have on number 1, you can do this here. I don't have to add for you, but here you make sure that you have them all aligned and decimal points are all lined up in a line in order to add these and add this line, which was 26, carry the 2, add this line, carry the 1 and add this. And as you add through, we got 878.96. Just make sure those decimal points are always aligned. So you might have a problem like this on number 9 when you have all these lined up for dollars, $32.10, $63.09, on and on here. But in order to add these up, the best thing is to line up the decimal points when you're adding, because it's kind of hard to add in your head unless you have a calculator, of course. So this is important just to make sure the decimal points are all aligned. So to know what dollars and cents, in doing this, how to do it is very important. So I think you know this stuff here. So let's go on, and we're going to go on to the next section. Kind of have everything here. So let's go on to the next section. Section 1-2. And so right here, this is important that you know. Cash receipt records and cash payment records. They're opposite. So cash receipt records basically are, those checks. If I wrote you a check, that would be your cash receipt record in a way. So cash receipt records are the money that's coming in, and those records of money that you've got. You've got paid, those are your cash receipt records. Cash payment records are records that you paid somebody. So you have to know the difference. So cash receipts are those cash receipts that you've taken in those cash receipts, and they could be checks, they could be cash, however. And then the payments are those payment records that you've paid out. Just to know the difference, because you're going to be talk about cash receipts, and don't think cash receipts are receipts of payments. They're not. So cash receipt records are the money coming in from like checks. So basically, it's going to be good if your cash receipts are more than your payments. Then you have money coming in. But if your payments are more than your cash receipts, you're going to be in the red, and then you're going to have problems. So the best thing is to make sure that you have more on the positive, on the cash receipts than you do in paying. So a financial crisis would happen when your payments exceed your receipts, right? That would be a financial crisis. So it says here too, Romans, owe no man anything but to love one another. So it's best that you do not have to owe people money all the time. So it's best to not be in debt. So, okay, let's go over this bottom part here. This is the example. So Anne is a high school senior. She works a few hours each week as a cashier at a local grocery store, and she's paid every 2 weeks. And so these are her cash receipts, what she gets. So the money that she's taken in. So you can see here. So she has a refund on her shoes, which was $32.56. She has a paycheck from her boss, or from working at the Happy Store, right? $72.19 is what she got. Her babysitting money is counting here. Bob paid money he owed her. The guy paid some money. Her birthday check, paycheck from the store, her next paycheck. She had 2 paychecks here, and this one's $62.71. House cleaning money, babysitting money. And so basically what she's going to do, and you should know this, is she's going to put them on her record like this, the September 4th dates over here. You'll get a record like this. You'll put the month and the dates all the way where she got those checks that she got, are those cash receipts. These are all cash receipts. And so then she totals them up. And here's easy to total when you have the amounts and you have all the cents. And you have where the decimal point is, you're going to have a line. So you basically are going to add all the way down, add all the way down, and then you're going to add. And she had her total receipts for September were $195.96. So you're going to be doing this. Basically, this part is just addition. So let's go on. This is the cash receipts, but of course, she's going to have payments to do. So let's look at the payments, the same way we do with the payments now. These are what she has to pay out. So she paid out, and she wrote September, those dates, paying out. She wrote down the shoe store where she paid out, tithe where she paid out. She had to pay her tithe is, you know, what you're paying God at church, basically putting in that tithe payment. And the school supplies, and she had to buy some school supplies. Your sister's 3 dress shops, she bought a dress for $49.22. Pizza place, missionary offering, she gave an offering. Another tithe, she usually looks like she's tithing like every week $10, giving to her church. Burgers by the billion, she bought some hamburger, or basically had a hamburger. Yogurt shop, savings, she put $35, the rest of it in savings. And so we see the total is $195.96. And that total was the same as her cash receipts she took in. So her intake and her output were, for the month of September, were exactly the same, as you see here. Both was $195.96. So it's important that you know you're taking in and taking out. And this is a record of your cash payments. So far, it's been pretty easy, huh? It's going to get a little more complicated, but as we go, we'll find out, you know, so more about all of this. But right now, it's basically addition. So basically, let's see. Let's look what it says right here in your exercise. It says, in the examples about Anne, her payments equaled her receipts because she put extra money in savings. She really had $35 left, right? She put that in savings. And you should plan to spend less than you make so you have money to save so you can put money in savings, right? So now, this is it. If you have more payments than receipts, then you're going to have a deficit. You don't want to have a deficit. That means you don't have enough money to cover your payments. Deficit, cash deficit, is when the payments are too much. And then if you have excess money, as she did with savings, you'll call it an excess, just so you know what the difference between a deficit and an excess is. So to find the amount of cash excess or deficit, you must subtract the smaller amount from the larger amount. And then you'll know the number being decreased is called the minuend, and the amount of reduction is called the subtrahend. So, and then the remaining amount is called the difference. So now we're going to get into subtraction. So subtraction here, you're going to subtract just to find what your deficit is or what your excess is. We would subtract those cash receipts from your cash payments, or vice versa, and find the difference. And then you can see, is it negative? Are you in the negative? You're in a deficit? Or are you in the positive? You'd be having an excess. So there's means that difference. So let's talk about differences here. Subtraction problems. I'm just going to tape these on here. Okay. So 12C basically is just telling you how to subtract. You know how to subtract, but let's go over it because you're going to have to do these in the test because they want to know if you really know how to subtract. So we have 3243 minus 1685. So to subtract, of course, you can't subtract 5 from 3, so you have to borrow this, turn this 4 into the 3. And so you have 13 minus 5 equals 8. Now you have 8 from 3. You have to borrow over here again because you can't take 3 from 8. So you borrow here, make this a 1, turn this into a 13. 13 minus 8 is 5. So you had to borrow here, but now you can't take 6 from 2, so you have to borrow again over here, make this a 2, and then add it over here to the 1, which is 11. So basically making this 6 from 11 is 5, and 2 minus 1 is 15. So you need to know how to do these, and you'll have these on the test to do, and you need to show your work of your borrowing, so you're not going to just go get your calculator or your phone. So there are a lot of problems in your book like this. Basically, it's a review from grade school too, but this is how you find whether you have a deficit or you have an excess. You're going to have to subtract, those numbers to find out. So, okay, this is a problem basically on 12D, a problem, and it's this first problem up here. Let's look at this first problem because we're going to do it. So the first problem here says the Rose family had these cash receipts for the week. So you're gonna add these cash receipts on your paper. You're gonna add them, and so which I did here. So the Rose family had cash receipts. The salary. Now they got their salary. They got a rebate there in the mail, and they had their what was the other thing they had? Their insurance dividend right here. And so you add up, these are all their cash receipts. So I added these up. You just add them up. And these are the total cash receipts that the Rose family had. The next, there's listed a whole bunch here. And these are going to be totaled. As you total these up, these are their payments. Payments for, and of course you have their tithe, 65, groceries, 87, 10, electric bill, their savings, how much they put in savings. Just this would show that putting something in savings means that they do have access to even put it in savings. Clothes, miscellaneous. So you add up all of their payments here. So you're adding up all of their payments. They had $582.89. So their cash total was $634.38, and their cash payment was $582. So if you would take this now, their payments are less, and if you subtract these two, you'd find out that they were in excess. If you took 634.38 minus 582.89, and I'm not going to do this, you know how to subtract, but as you find this answers, you'll find the difference. This is called, you need to know this too, because this will be a test question. This is called minuend. Instead of add-in, it's a minuend because it's minus, right? And then this one's called subtrahend, right? And then the answer here, when you get the answer, is going to be called the difference. So you need to know that. You need to know that this is going to be the minuend. What you're minusing from, minuend. Subtractand means what you're subtracting. That's the number you're subtracting from it. So minuend, subtrahend, and difference. You probably didn't remember that because I even didn't remember that. So this is a subtraction problem. So again, to subtract this, what you're going to do, you're going to have to borrow, right? So you borrow. As you're borrowing, see how I'm borrowing? So make sure you keep all in line with the decimal points. And so 8 times 3, so we're going to borrow here 13.5. So this is going to be the difference. And because you have more cash receipts, this is going to be positive. So, got it? This is minuend, subtrahend, and difference. Okay? On number 5. Let's go number 1. Here's a word problem, number 5. Just to see how to do it. So you're going to have Keith Matson had, let's pull up here so you can see. Keith Matson had cash receipts of $73.18 and cash payments of $79. Did he have an excess or deficit? So cash receipts here, his cash receipts were $73.18 and his payments were $79. So his payments were more. So he's going to have a deficit of $5.91. I say 5.91 cents here, deficit, because his payments are more. So that's kind of what you're gonna have to learn how to do those. Here's one with Mindy. So pull this up so you can see. Mindy Jones had a total cash receipts of $1,410.18. That's her money and her positive money. For 1 month, that's how much money she had. Her excess of cash receipts above cash payments was $42.88. So basically, what were her payments then? Well, you'll find out her payments by subtracting 1,410 and subtract 42.88, and then you'll find out what her payments was, because she only had $442.88 left. So basically, what her payments were $1,367.30. So basically, and she only had 42, but she did have an excess of 42.88. So I think here we go. Here's the problem worked out for that. So here I subtracted the 42.88. Of course, we had to borrow again. See, from as I went through this whole thing, you see how I had to borrow in the midst of this. In this, basically subtracting that, this would be what the payments cost. So these are all subtracted problems here. So the other is, let's see, here's one. The Royer family had cash payments of $887.10 for 1 week. Their deficit was $173.18. How much were their total cash receipts? Well, they had cash payments. So you know this. Basically, their cash payments. So you can see here, the Royer family had cash payments. Let's write it out so you know. And then they had a deficit of $173. So that means their payments were more. So I subtract that 173 from, subtracting again, 173 from that cash, subtracted here, see how I have subtracted here? 887 minus 173.10, and we got the cash. So the cash receipts that she had were 713. So they only had 713 cash, that's their money coming in, but they had to pay more. So they had a deficit of 173. They were in the red. So see how you do these? Okay, let's see. Here's one. This last one says the freshman class of Emmanuel Christian had cash payments of $42 in September. They had an excess of $6.02 at the end of the month. How much were their total cash? You're going to subtract again. So basically, you have their, you write it out. They had $42 excess at the end. So what was their cash receipt? So they had $42. Actually, you're going to add this because they're going to have an excess because they have cash payments of 42. So they're not all subtracting. You got to think. You had cash payments of $42. They had an excess. So their excess would be more than this. So if it's going to be more than $42 for excess, you got to add. So 42 plus $6.12 is $48.12. And $48.12 is your answer. So this was a different problem. I kind of got you. So when you have, just think, when you have your cash payments here and you're going to have an excess, that means you're going to have more, so you're going to add it instead of subtract it. So okay, so let's see. Let's go on to the next one. Maybe we should stop at this one. Let's stop because we're going to get into assets now, and then we're going to have to take a quiz. So let's stop right here.